Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Google Digital Garage. Welcome to Elma Shuli Mustafa. I can see you said hello in the chat. Hello. Welcome to Social Media Strategy. Before we get started, I just want to make sure everyone can see and hear me correctly. So if you're having any issues at all with the picture or the sound today, the best thing that you can do is just refresh the page, hit that refresh button, and that usually sorts out most of the issues that you might have. If you're still having problems, other things that you can do are go to your YouTube settings, which are down in the bottom right corner. You get to the video settings and you can maybe fiddle about with those, and that might fix, again, some of the issues you might have. So welcome to Social Media Strategy. My name is Zoe. I'm going to be your presenter for today. I'm going to be your trainer, and I'm going to take you through all about how to build a wonderful little plan to determine what you do on social media. You know, what do you post? Who is your audience? All sorts of things like that. My background is in digital marketing. I've been in marketing for nearly 10 years now. Gosh, yes, really nearly 10 years now. And in that time, I've worked with a number of different clients. I've worked for agencies. I've worked for myself. I currently run a small marketing agency with my partner. And yeah, that's that's my background, and that's how I've come to learn all sorts about social media. I've worked on social media campaigns for clients. I've worked on them for myself as well. And I'm hopefully going to be able to share some of that knowledge with you here today. I'm not alone, of course. I'm also joined by Samantha. And Samantha is our moderator today. You'll have been able to see her in the chat there. She is going to be saying hi to you guys. She's going to be chatting to you guys. And also, she's going to be there to answer any questions that you have. Now, if you haven't already, it's worth signing into your YouTube account. You can do that. There should be a button in the top right corner of your screen that will let you do that. If you do sign into your YouTube account, you can chat in the live chat, and that's why we like to do these live rather than just sending out pre-recorded videos. It's so that we can ask you questions and you can ask us questions. So if you're not sure about something, if you're not sure how what I'm saying applies to you, if you've got any questions about any of the material that we are talking about today, pop them in the chat. Samantha's going to be able to get to some of them. I think she's got 200 characters in order to do that, which isn't a lot. So there are some she's going to pass over to me as well, because obviously I don't have a character limit because I just get to talk. So we are going to have some little breaks where I can answer any questions that are a little bit more detailed or maybe just would be worth everybody hearing the answer to. So please, please, please do feel free to ask any questions that you have whatsoever. And all you need to do is just tag Samantha in them or just pop them in the chat and we'll be able to answer them and help you guys out. Now, we do have a lot of other webinars as well, in addition to this one. If this is your first Digital Garage webinar, then hello, welcome. I'm glad that you've decided to take a look at what the Google Digital Garage has to offer. If you'd like to learn more, we do have a lot of other webinars, and you can find all of them in the link in the video description, which will take you to all of the webinars we have available. We've got them on loads of different topics, analytics, digital advertising, building your personal brand, all sorts of things that could be really useful for you. So take a look at those, see if there's anything that takes your fancy. They are all completely free. They're all just like this one, just a YouTube live stream that you can watch. And yeah, hello, welcome. I'm excited to get started. I can see a few more hellos. Hello to Prue, hello to Inga, hello to Robert, to Gameplay, and hi to Mukat. Thank you for joining us, Robert from South Carolina and Mukat from Southeast Asia. Amazing to get such a global audience here today. Thank you for joining us, everyone. I am going to try and pronounce names correctly. If I mispronounce them, I'm very sorry, but I will do my best. Please just do say if I'm mispronouncing your name. And I'll do my best to correct myself. So today we've got 3 sections and 3 main topics. The first thing is we're going to look at social media. How do we help grow a business? How do we use social media to grow a business? Why is social media so useful for businesses? Why is it that that we can use it in such a way with such power to grow businesses and to do business online? What's the point of social media in that way? We're going to look at that first. Then we're going to look at the practicalities of actually going and building that social media strategy. what steps do you need to take each step of the way to create that strategy? And then we're going to look at how we can refine that strategy by looking at some tips, some tricks, some tools, all sorts of things like that. I can see we've got even more hellos. This is a wonderful session. You're also chatty. We've got, is that Tamara from Ukraine? I'm not very good at scripts that aren't Latin scripts. But hello from Ukraine. Yo to Jason. Hello. And again, is that Eutuchia? From Greece. Again, my pronunciation might be terrible. Hello, Sarah from the UK. Hello, Gameplay from Pakistan. Again, it's really amazing to see so many people from around the world. Now, obviously, all of what we do here is pretty we are a UK based industry. UK based platform. So some of the stuff that we say might be pretty UK focused, but we'll try and keep it nice and relevant for everybody. One of the things that we do have, which is a little bit UK focused, is our free one-to-one mentoring. Now, unfortunately, at the minute, we're only offering this in the UK, but anybody who works for a small business or for a charity in the UK is eligible to sign up for our free one-to-one mentoring. I don't know if there are plans to roll this out across the world, but certainly at the minute, it's just UK residents. It is completely free. You get a full 1 hour session with a Google Digital Garage trainer. So if you are interested in that, I'm sure there will be a link in the chat, and there's a link up there on the slide, which is g.co/UK mentoring. You can sign up there and get a full hour of one-to-one mentoring with a Google Digital Garage trainer just like myself. And that, again, will allow you to talk through all of the issues you're having with your business, with anything else that we can help you out with, whether that's getting online, whether that's marketing yourself. We can really dig into the specifics of you and your business or your charity or something like that. So do take advantage of that. I can see that Accent Group has just recommended that as well, which is fantastic. Thank you for the recommendation. And hello again. Again, we've got West Sussex, Egypt, Morocco, Libya, Kenya. Fantastic. Hello, everybody. And again, thank you so much for joining us. It's wonderful to see so many people and so many lovely chatty people as well. Thank you for being so talkative today. I'm looking forward to the session loads more now because I know that you're going to chat to me, which is lovely. So let's look at the first topic of today. How can social media actually help you grow a business? What is the benefits of social media? It should go without saying that this is where most customers are. In the UK alone, we've got 44 million active social media users. Of course, around the world, that's going to be very, very different depending on the country that you live in. I know that, for example, in India, people interact with the internet much more through Facebook than they do through other browsers. There are going to be some parts of the world where social media is used more, some parts of the world where social media is used less. In the UK, 44 million is about 2/3 of our population. That's a lot of people, and that's obviously 2/3 of our entire population. Some of the people in the UK are going to be babies who can't use social media because they're too young. Or they're going to be older people who maybe are less likely to go on social media because it's just not something they're familiar with. So when you look at that and you consider those things, probably the vast majority of adults in the UK are on social media. And that's pretty common around the world. The vast majority of people now are online on social media. On average, the amount of time you spend on social media is an hour and 55. I can't read today. An hour and 54 minutes per day is how long we spend on average on social media. You might be looking at that number and think that's completely unrealistic. There's no way I would ever spend an hour and 54 minutes on social media each day. You might be looking at it and thinking, yeah, I do way more than that. I definitely go on social media for more than an hour and 54 minutes per day. In my defense, partly that is for my job. But also just in my spare time, I use social media to interact with my friends and with my family. I use social media to keep up with the news. I use social media to relax and unwind. I watch videos. I use TikTok. I use YouTube. There's all sorts of reasons to use social media. That's where your customers are going to be as a business owner. We've got such a huge audience available on social media. It would be silly not to try and take advantage of that and use that huge group of people that you can now access. So with social media, one thing that you can do is generate more sales. So so many people around the world, we are talking about 2/3 up to sort of 80-90% of people on some kind of social media platform. That means there are new audiences out there who maybe you've not interacted with before. There's also new opportunities, ways of interacting with your audience that you might not have considered before. So, for example, social media is a very two-way system. You don't just talk at people, they get to talk to you, and you get to have conversations with your potential customers, with your potential clients. That's a completely different opportunity to a lot of other types of marketing and advertisement. It means that you can have those conversations and create new opportunities through that. It allows you to target really specific types of customer, which we will look at later. But if you know who your target audience is, well, then you can target your social media posts directly at them and at their needs and at their interests to make it more likely that they're going to click on your social media posts and read them and eventually, hopefully, go to your website and make a purchase. And of course, you can build relationships, you can build networks, you can find influencers through social media. Again, it's conversational. It's all about those relationships, that conversation, that two-way street, rather than just talking at people. It also adds value to your brand, and this is something that's not often thought about with social media. But a brand that has a really good social media presence is actually more valuable to consumers than a brand without that. If you think you've got a company with a really good social media presence, means if you have a problem with that company or the product, you know that you can go straight to them on social media and talk to them and hopefully get that sorted out really quickly without having to call up a help center and be put on hold for ages or anything like that. That adds value. Also, a good social media presence will provide you with interesting content, maybe competitions, things that will keep you following that business and that brand. That again adds value. It lets you show sort of the personality of your business, which again it adds value because people aren't looking at your business and seeing just like a faceless company anymore. They're looking at your business and they're seeing a personality, an individual, a person. And that again, that makes them see your business as more valuable, as more interesting. And that's obviously a huge advantage if you can be the more interesting, valuable business amongst you and your competitors. And it lets you build a community of similar people, a community of people who all think and feel similar things, who have the same interests. And again, that's something, people will keep coming back to your social media page and keep coming back to your brand for the community that you foster there. So that's a huge advantage as well. And of course, it's good for general marketing. If you can think about your overall marketing strategy, social media is a really good thing to incorporate into that. So, for example, you might have noticed that if you search for something, anything at all, if you put it into Google, some of the results might be social media pages. Maybe you'll get a tweet come up or a Facebook page come up. Those are places that you can be discovered on search. Of course, if you're not on Twitter or Facebook, then those things can't come up if someone searches for you or searches for your business type or something like that. It helps you attract more people onto your website as well because it's another route people can take. They can go from your social media page to your website rather than having to find your website through the search engine. So that's another way they can find you, another way they can get onto your website. And the more people you get onto your site, the more visible that site is going to become. And of course, the more money you're hopefully going to make because more people on your website usually means more purchases get made. You can also gain a lot of insight into who your customers are on social media. And that's both through just chatting to them, but also through something called analytics. So most social networks have something called analytics. They might call it different things. So Facebook calls it Facebook Page Insights, for example. But they're all the same thing. They tell you information about the people who follow you. So you can learn, okay, well, what's the gender balance of my followers? Do I have more men or more women or more non-binary people following me on social media? What about the age range? What's the average age of my audience? Um, and of course, finally, it lets you keep an eye on your competitors, because your competitors are going to have social media as well. Your competitors are going to have social networks and social pages of their own. And you can look at that and you can see, what are they doing? And kind of more importantly, what aren't they doing? Is there any gaps in their marketing that you could fill? Is there anything that they aren't doing that maybe you could do and provide that for customers, that if they're not being provided already by your competitors? It's always a good idea to keep an eye on your competitors' social media pages, just to see, what are they doing in terms of marketing that you're not, and what could you be doing that they're not doing right now? So ask yourself some questions that you can think about whenever you're thinking about your social media presence. And these are just really basic questions. And that even if you don't have a strategy, these are going to help you sort of guide the way that you post and what you post. So, what kind of updates should you post? What's going to be the most relevant to your audience, do you think? Are the posts on social media actually driving people to your website? Because it's not as simple as just going, "Hi, everyone, here's my website. You should go and visit it." If you do that, then, well, some people might come and visit it, but most people probably are going to look at that and go, "Well, why? What's in it for me?" How do you entice people to come to your website? What is it that they want to hear? What is it that you could tell them that would encourage them to go to your website? When is the best time to engage with my audience? Is that something that is not often talked about? I'm really bad with my own personal social media marketing, because I do this as a job, and I have my own little side hustles, but my main job is marketing. So I spend most of my day doing marketing for other people, and then for my little side hustles, well, I end up doing that in sort of the evening or even late at night. So I'm sort of sending out tweets at 11 o'clock at night while I'm in bed, and they don't really get seen, because not that many of my audience are also on Twitter at 11 o'clock at night. So you do need to think about, well, when are my audience online? When are they most likely to be on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Pinterest? And therefore, that's when you should be posting. And of course, who are my most influential followers? Am I followed by someone who has a big following themselves? And if so, could maybe they do a review for me? Review one of my products if I send them a free product, or could they be an influencer for my brand? These are all things that you might want to ask yourself to direct your social media marketing. And remember, attention spans online are really, really short. It's generally thought that we have an 8-second attention span, but then when it comes to social media, some people think that when you're on sort of Facebook or Twitter or something like that, your attention span shortens to 3 seconds. That means you only have 3 seconds to grab someone's attention before they're going to keep scrolling. So you've got to be able to stop that finger, stop that thumb, stop it from scrolling. You've got to give them a reason to stop. Remember, there's lots of competition. Loads and loads of brands are online. Loads of brands have their own social media accounts. What is going to make you stand out? What makes you different from your competitors? Do you have a slightly different audience, for example? That could be the thing that you could focus on, is targeting one specific group. Or do you have a different product or a different service? Do you interact with your audience in a different way? Do you have a better idea about what to post than your competitors? Remember that it's not always free. A lot of what we're going to talk about today is completely free. We call it organic social media marketing, and organic just means that it's being done without you paying money to the social networks, but you can pay for ads. This can be a good strategy. It can be a really good strategy. Some social networks work better than others when it comes to ads, but certainly, depending on your audience, depending on your business, ads can be a great idea. Just bear in mind that you might have to put a decent budget behind them if you want to succeed. And of course, once it is public, it is public. You can't assume that if you delete a post, if you delete a tweet or a Facebook post, you can't assume that it's not going to have been screenshotted already. Plenty of people have tweeted out something that they probably shouldn't have, and they've come back later and try to do some damage control and deleted the tweet, only to find that plenty of people have already taken a screenshot. So even though they've tried to get rid of it, it's public now. Everyone knows that they've said it. So you've just got to be really careful. Make sure that what you say on social media is what you mean to say. Make sure that you aren't being exclusionary. Make sure that you aren't being prejudiced. Because audiences are, I mean, you shouldn't be prejudiced anyway, but if you are online on social media, audiences are going to notice, and they are, even if you realize, oh, I shouldn't have said that, and take it back, once it's public, people are going to know. So you have to be really careful and try not to make any mistakes that could come back to bite you. Now we have a break for questions. I can see we've got loads of hellos, but no questions at the minute, which is absolutely fine. Obviously, if you do have a question, you can just pop it in the chat, but I'm going to assume that everyone's following along really well right now. So you haven't got any questions yet. So I'm going to move on to the second section of our presentation, which is how to go about actually building that social media strategy. And we've split this down into 5 steps. We're going to go into each one of these in more detail. But what we have is first of all, you want to define your audience. Who are they? Then you want to set your business goals. Then you want to pick your platforms. Now, some people are surprised by this, that picking your platforms comes quite late. But if you think about it, you don't want to start with the platform. You don't want to go, well, okay, I want to have an Instagram account, so I'm going to start marketing myself on Instagram. And then you look at your audience and you do some research into your audience and you find they're not actually on Instagram mostly. And then you think about your business goals and you realize actually Instagram's not the best platform to achieve what I want to achieve. Well, then it seems clear at that point that Instagram's not the best option for you. So that's why we pick our social platforms at the third step. We first want to know who is our audience and what do we want to achieve? And only then can we go, okay, well, what social media platform fits with those two things? Then we can define our tone of voice. And finally, we can look at what counts as a success for us so we can start measuring your success, measuring how well your strategy has worked. So step 1, define your audience. Who are they? Most businesses have a decent idea of who their audience is from the start. They have an all right idea because they started their business to provide a particular product or service for a particular audience. So, I might I don't know, I might market a particular type of period product. Well, I know because I'm marketing a product to do with periods that my audience is going to be cisgender women and transgender men even, as in people who have periods. That's my audience already. Now we can narrow that down. So they're going to be premenopausal, for example. They're not going to have gone through the menopause, and they're going to be old enough to actually menstruate. So I don't know why I've picked this as a particular topic. But anyway, you probably have a decent idea of who your audience could be. What are they into? Once we narrow down that audience a little bit, once we get a better idea of, okay, so we're marketing towards women, but what kind of women? How old are they? How well off are they? How much income do they have? Do they have a family? Do they have a partner? Do they own their own house? What do they do for a job? And then we can look at, okay, what are their interests? What are they actually into? What is it that they respond really well to? Those are really important questions to ask. What influences them, or who influences them? Where do they get their news? Where do they get product recommendations from? What would convince them to buy a product? Is it online reviews? Is it a review in a newspaper? Is it an influencer saying this product's really good? What is it that would convince them? When are they online? We've already talked about that. It's important to be posting when your audience is there. And which social media do they use? Of course, again, really important thing to think about. Jason, I can see that you've put in the chat, you need to be where your audience is. Most users won't follow you where you want to take them. And that's true. Your audience isn't going to go to a brand new social network just for your business. They're going to stay on the social networks they're familiar with. So you need to be going to them. You can't expect them to come to you. You need to go to them. So how can we actually define that audience? Well, we can just talk to our customers. That's one step. Talk to our customers and try and work out, okay, well, who are they? What are their interests? What are their needs? Things like that. We can then maybe also identify groups of people who aren't current customers, but who could be. So if I sold running shoes, I might sell them to athletes. I might be marketing to people who are athletic for a job. People who need hard wearing running shoes to train in. But I might have a think about it, and I might identify, well, okay, even though we're only really selling to athletes right now, why couldn't we sell to people who go for runs for a hobby or who do sports as a hobby? That's a target market. It might not be the one we're targeting right now, but they'd still be interested in our product. So it's worth thinking, are there any groups of people who we haven't currently marketed towards, who we could market towards in the future? You can even build an online survey. You could use a tool called SurveyMonkey. You could use a tool called Google Forms. Samantha, I wonder if you wouldn't mind popping them in the chat for people. But that you could get an online survey and get your customers to chat to you directly about what it is that they're interested in, where they get their news, how they get product recommendations, things like that, so you can learn about them. And then, of course, as I mentioned, there are also insights on the social media platforms themselves. So Facebook page insights, Instagram for business, Twitter for business, YouTube analytics, all of these platforms have data in them that you can look at and that you can use. They will happily tell you about the people who follow you, not on a sort of individual basis, but they will be able to say, for example, you might be able to see, let me turn my virtual laser pointer on. In this segment, we've got that 67% of this particular account's followers are women and 33% are men. So we can learn from that, can't we? The majority of this person's audience is female by a ratio of 2-1. That's a really good insight. You might also look at individual posts, individual tweets or videos or pictures or whatever you're posting on social media and see how well they perform and see if you notice, okay, well, these ones do better than these ones. And what does that tell you about your audience? Again, for our running shoes example, I might notice that posts about running with friends and how nice it is to run alongside someone get loads more interaction than other posts that I make. Well, that tells me that my audience is maybe more social than I thought, that maybe they like to run with other people, that maybe that's my target market. Maybe they're the people who are responding really well to our marketing. So we can start focusing a bit more on that, and we can learn something about our audience in the process. So stage 2, hopefully with all that, you've got a good idea of who your audience is, what exactly they do, what exactly they like. You can start thinking about your goals. What is it that you want to actually achieve from being on social media? Now, the third one down here, generate more sales. That's pretty much the overall goal for every business. Or charity, you could say donations instead of sales. Every business exists essentially to make money. That's why you're in business. That's not a great goal for social media because obviously you want to generate more sales. That's obviously going to be your overall goal. But how are you actually going to do that? You need to kind of go one step back a little bit and go, well, what is it that is going to help my audience buy more of my product? What is it that's going to convince them to make those sales? Is it that they want to see better customer service, for example, which is the first goal on that slide? Is it that not enough people are aware that your business exists? Maybe the people who do know you exist are really likely to make a purchase. Once people understand who you are and what you do, loads of them end up going, well, that's great, and they end up making a purchase. The challenge is that not enough people know who you are, so you maybe need to grow that awareness. Maybe your problem is that lots of people know who you are, know what you do. Lots of people follow you on Twitter or Instagram, but not many of them are actually going from there onto your website and actually making that purchase. So maybe it's not about that awareness. Maybe it's about engaging people more. Maybe it's that people don't want to buy your products because you haven't got enough customer reviews, you haven't got enough evidence that your products are really good. So maybe it would be worth connecting with influencers to drive that form of your marketing. Really try and work out, what is it that you need? What is it your business needs in order to make those sales? What is it that you're missing currently? That's much more helpful than just generate more sales as a goal. So we can set one goal using this framework, and this is called the double diamond framework. It's a way of looking at problem solving, and it's a really good way to structure your goals. So we're going to first discover what the goal is. Let's say my goal, I've got my running shoe business. My goal is that I want some influencers. I want some casual social runners to market my product for me by reviewing it to their following on social media. So my goal is to connect with some influencers. Then we can define, and that is about defining the barriers that are in the way of that goal. So my barriers might be, well, I've never done influencer marketing before, so I'm not sure how to go about it. My barriers might be that my products are quite expensive to make. So if I give them away to influencers, I'm going to be losing a decent amount of money on each time I do that. So I need to make sure I'm getting a good return on investment. So I need to make sure that that works. Then we can look at developing, what do we need to achieve this goal? Well, I need some influencers. First of all, I need to know who they are. I need to have a good structure of contacting them. I need to have a framework for how am I going to go actually contact them and talk to them. And then we can look at deliver. How can you remove the barriers that you identified in the second step? So if my barriers are, well, I've never dealt with influencers before, maybe I can mitigate that by doing some research on influencer marketing and reading about it and finding out what is it I need to do. If I'm worried about giving away expensive products for reviews, well, maybe I could start small with just one influencer that I think is going to be the best chance of getting me those sales. And then I've only lost one pair of shoes. So if I don't get any sales from it, I've only made a loss of one pair of shoes, as opposed to if I did, 100 pairs of shoes sent out. So that's going to help you narrow down your goals and how to achieve them. Step 3 then, what channels do we want to focus on? So first question, is your product a business focus or a lifestyle focus? If it's a business focus, if you're marketing towards other businesses, well, then you want to be looking at social networks like LinkedIn. Twitter can be good for this. Sometimes YouTube can be good for this. If it's lifestyle, then Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, these are all good channels. It's always best to start with one social network rather than trying multiple at the same time. And the reason is it takes time to get used to a network, and it takes time to come up with what to post and to post it consistently. So yeah, if you start out by going, well, I'm going to be on Facebook and YouTube and Pinterest and TikTok. That's 4 different social networks with 4 very different strategies for success. That means that you are going to have to put a lot of time into understanding each of those networks and what to post. You are doing this while running a business. That's not easy. You want to make sure, instead of doing that, just start out with one. Start out with one social network. Maybe you start with the one that you think most of your audience is on. Try things out, test it, learn how it works, post on it and post different things on it, and just get really, really familiar with what strategies work with that social network. Once you feel like you've got a really good handle on it, it doesn't take you much effort or time to start creating posts for that network, then you could maybe try moving on to another one and doing Instagram as well, for example. But only do that once you've really mastered one of them. Because remember, different channels have completely different strategies. What works really well on Facebook wouldn't work on Twitter, wouldn't work on Instagram, on Pinterest, on LinkedIn. They are all very different. Even though they're very similar, they are very different. and you need to think about different strategies. So what we're going to do now is look at each network individually, or look at the main networks individually, and think about the strategies for them. So Twitter. Twitter is a difficult one at the minute because it is, some of you might know, it's under new management. It was bought out late last year by Elon Musk, who's been making a lot of changes to the network. Not everyone thinks that those changes are good. And certainly a lot of businesses have left Twitter as a result of the changes that Elon Musk has made. So, some of this information is true, but might not be true tomorrow because, again, a lot of changes are being made. But it is still, at the minute, it's still really good because you've got that 280 character limit on your tweets. It's really good for those quick fire conversations. You don't need to be writing big, long posts. It's good for quick observations, quick chats, things like that. You obviously want to create a professional looking profile. You want to make sure that you've got a good image, good header image, good good to handle, which is your name. If you look at Dollar Shave Club their handle is @DollarShaveClub, which makes it really clear that that's their account. You don't really want a business to have a different handle to the business's name. You want them to be the same thing, just so that people can find you really easily. You can use hashtags to join relevant conversations. This still works really well on Twitter. People do search through different hashtags, so using them helps people find your content if they're interested. So again, if I were to use hashtag running shoes for my hypothetical running shoes business, or hashtag running, then people who are interested in running might look at that hashtag and find my tweets through that. Make sure, it is interactive like a lot of social networks. It's a really good idea to ask questions of your audience, maybe run some polls, just like this one from Dollar Shave Club, and make sure you're engaging with other people's content. Retweets are really useful. Retweet posts that you think that your customers really like, that your audience would respond really well to. And you also get a pinned tweet, which pins the tweet at the top of your profile so that it's the first thing that people see when they come to your profile. It's a good idea to make this your most relevant tweet, or the tweet that is the most relevant to your audience. So use those pinned tweets. So you've got important messages, important offers, things like that. For example, if you've got a sale on, make sure you're pinning that tweet to your profile so it's easily findable by everyone who comes to your profile. Facebook is one of the biggest social networks in the world, although it's losing a lot of popularity with younger people. It is a bit of a business directory. So what that means is that you can pop your opening hours, your contact details, a map to your business if you've got a physical location, reviews can go on Facebook, and of course you can have a link to your website. So somebody who comes to your Facebook page can find basically all the details that they need to know about your business. You can have your own call to action button on your Facebook profile as well. So that could be shop now, it could be buy now. You can actually sell through Facebook now as well with Facebook Marketplace. And it's a multi-format platform, which means that you can use pictures, you can use GIFs, you can use videos, you can use all sorts of different types of media in order to gain some following, in order to get your audience nice and engaged and to get some interest. And because the overall aim is what you want is people to be sharing your content. So yeah, make sure that you're varying up the type of content that you use to make it as shareable as possible. Instagram, incredibly visual social network. It's all about those pictures and videos. You can share photos and videos of anything you want as long as it is relevant to your audience and to your business. Your caption, each photograph gets a caption, and you can use that to tell a story, to keep people interested, to make them understand what they're looking at. And of course, you can use hashtags on Instagram as well. Probably more important than any other social network is using hashtags on Instagram. You want to go easy on them. You want to only use the hashtags that are most relevant to the photo that you just posted. So don't fill the caption with loads and loads and loads of hashtags. That's going to just make it confusing for the algorithm. It's going to make it confusing for your audience. And of course, make sure you're following other people. Follow influencers, follow brands, follow people that you find interesting, that you find interesting, and that's going to help you build up more of a network of followers on Instagram. So that's a good idea. LinkedIn is the professional social network. It's all about those business posts, those professional posts. You can create a personal page for you as an individual, or you can create a page for your company, or you can do both, because you can list yourself as an employee of that company. Make sure well, you don't have to do this, but your employees could be good advocates for your brands. If you do something that they love, they might post about it on LinkedIn, and then other companies will be able to see what a good brand you are, and people who are looking for a job as well. Recruitment is a real big focus on LinkedIn, so it's a really good idea to make sure you are posting on LinkedIn if you want to recruit new staff, and also make sure that you're looking for new staff on LinkedIn. Make sure you're using the right keywords as well. People will find your company page through LinkedIn through a search engine. So make sure you're using the words that people might be searching for. And of course, LinkedIn is a great place for what we call thought leadership content. It's a great place for you to say, here is the idea that we have had that we don't think anyone else has had. This is the way that we do business, and here's why we think you should do business this way. People love that stuff on LinkedIn. Then we've got, last but not least, YouTube. Now, people don't tend to think about YouTube as a social network, but it technically is. You've got people like we have today. People are able to chat to each other, leave comments. You have your own little profile. So it is a social network. It just works slightly differently. But it's very similar to, for example, Instagram, just with videos instead of images. So YouTube is a little bit harder to do correctly because videos take longer to create. We do have a session on creating videos with YouTube. I don't know if, Samantha, you could maybe share a link to that in the chat. But yeah, it's great for creating those really great shareable thought leadery videos, videos that are useful for your audience as well. And of course, you can always collaborate on YouTube. Probably easier and more expected to collaborate on YouTube than on other social networks. So if you've got, so for example, if I've got my running shoe business, I might want to collaborate with a running influencer, and maybe we could make some videos together that we can promote to our shared audience. So that can be a really great idea. So once you've chosen your channel, we go back to our coming up with a social media plan. I know we took a little bit of a departure there. Once we've come up with our channel, we need to think about what our social voice is going to be. How are you going to actually talk on social media? What kind of things will you say? This is not just about the words that you use, although the words you use are incredibly important. It's also about when do you use your logo? When do you what kind of fonts do you use? What kind of colors do you use? What's your personality? What kind of personality is your business going to have online? What will you say and what won't you say? And how will you style your images? These are all things that go into the sort of tone of voice and personality of your brand online. So think about the sort of the tone that you want to use. Is it friendly or is it provocative? Is it fun or is it serious? Is it formal or is it casual? What words would you use? What do you think your customers would react the best to as well? What would they find they really respond well to? Here's an example of a tone of voice. We've got the This Girl Can campaign. This was a campaign in the UK. It was sponsored by the National Lottery, and it was all about improving women's access to sport and generally rethinking how we define femininity. It's quite a good. I mean, I love this campaign. I think it's fantastic. Under these gloves is a beautiful manicure. That was literally me the other day. I was I was at a boxing gym with a lovely manicure on. I also know the offside rule. Sweating like a pig, feeling like a fox. Getting people to think about femininity different. You don't have to be masculine to do something like boxing. You don't have to you don't have to not sweat and be perfect and pristine in order to feel feminine. This is quite a confrontational campaign. The way that they've used the font and the images as well, and the way that they've used the text, it's big and it's bold and it's right center in the middle of the picture. Under these gloves is a beautiful manicure. It really hits you with that message straight away. Nice big text in quite a bold, very readable, almost stencily font. So it's a little bit like kind of graffiti kind of vibes. So that's a really good thing. It's a good idea to look at other people's brands, other people's, look at the way that another company talks online, look at the way that they use graphic design, colors, fonts, images, and see what they are trying to achieve and see if you could do the same thing. And then step 5, define success. What is it that is going to show you that you have been successful? So if you want to grow your awareness, if you want more people to be aware of you, well, you might want to measure how many people follow you on social media, or how many views your videos get or images get, things like that. Have a think about what metrics you can use to measure, and do try and measure them. You want to make sure that you're keeping track of, right, is my marketing actually working? Or is it not? Or am I doing the wrong thing? So think about what you're going to measure and how you will define success. And of course, consider paying. Depending on the social network, it might be worth paying for some ads to reach a new audience, for example. If you want more growth and more sales, ads are a really important tool. Remember that the basics of most social networks is that when you put something on social media, for example, if I were to put God, what am I thinking about? If I were to put a post on Facebook, the only people who are going to see that post initially are going to be the people who already follow me on Facebook. They're going to be the people who've already liked my page. That's the only people who are going to see that, unless one or more of the people who already follow me like that post, comment on that post, or share that post. If they do that, there is a small chance that the people who they are friends with on Facebook might also see it. That's how organic growth works, and it can be really slow. The only way to directly show your posts to somebody who doesn't already follow you without somebody having to retweet or share is to pay for ads, because ads can be shown to anybody online, whether they follow you or not. So if you're struggling to grow organically, ads might be the option for you. So don't discount it, is the idea. And again, we do have some webinars, on digital advertising if you're interested in that. So bringing everything together, we have defined our audience. We have set our business goals. We've chosen our social platforms, which social networks we're going to use. We've thought about what our tone of voice is going to be. And then, of course, we've decided what success is going to look like for us. Now, I can see we have got some questions if I pop over into my mom doc. So Ahmed has said, what if you're promoting or selling items on your social media rather than directing people to your website? So you can absolutely do this. Like I mentioned, you can sell through Facebook Marketplace, and that's absolutely an option. Everything we've said so far still applies. The only difference is that you're not trying to get people to go to your website. You're trying to get people to buy straight from your social media page. So just think about that. You're not always you're not putting links onto your website. You're trying to get people to buy on Facebook. You might have to, or whatever social media platform you're using. You might have to encourage them to do that a little bit more. Some people might think that social media marketplaces aren't as trustworthy as other online marketplaces, but generally, you should find that everything we've talked about today still applies, Ahmed. We have got a question from KD Salma. I've started a small business. Is a social media account enough, or do I need a website? Social media accounts are enough for a small business. A website is always going to help. You can certainly get a very basic free website through Google if you use a Google business profile. then you can create a free Google site. It's not going to be great. It's not going to have a lot of functionality, and it's probably not going to have the web address that you want, but you can get a simple website up and running. But certainly when you start out, you can absolutely work with just social media accounts to begin with. And build up to having a website. Although I would say a website should still be your goal for the future. What have we got? I saw one about fonts. Crystal, how do you match your font to your tone of voice? And how do you tell a font is friendly? Does Google Font help? So that's a really complicated question, Crystal. Because how do you tell if a font is friendly? Google Fonts is a good source. There's also a website called Canva, which has something called Canva Font Matcher, I think it is. So there are some good online tools that you can use to work out what fonts would be best for your business. Honestly, the best thing to do is to just look at a whole bunch of fonts, and for each one, think, well, how does this one make me feel? If I saw a business with that font, would I think it was fun? Would I think it was formal? Would I think it was friendly? Would I think it was trying to be edgy, trying to be controversial? You might have to stretch your imagination a little bit. Not everyone looks at fonts and has a strong emotional reaction. But certainly, you're right, Google Font does help. And just Googling for font matching tools is a good option. And at the end of the day, choose a font that you like, choose a font that you think looks really good. Think about what fonts say about your business as well. It might not always be about, tone of voice. If you choose quite an old-fashioned font, for example, people might think that your business is quite old-fashioned, quite old school, maybe more formal. So you might want to consider that. So even if you look at that font and you think it looks really cool, it might not necessarily match the image of your business that you want to inspire. So there's loads and loads and loads of things that you can think about with that. But a short answer is that Google Font does help. Canva has some font matching tools as well. That's Canva. Samantha, if you wouldn't mind sharing a link to Canva in the chat, that would be amazing. Those should be good resources for you. Brilliant. So last section then, let's have a look at tools and best practice for social media. So first of all, what kind of content should you share? Really, there's a bit of an 80-20 rule. 80% of your content shouldn't be about your product. This, different people will say different ratios. I would say 80-20. So 80% of your content should be not about your product. 20% should be about your product. Should be saying, here's this thing that we've made. You should buy it. You might want to share announcements. You might want to share behind the scenes content. You might want to share operational content, things like we're recruiting. Would anyone like to join us? You always want to be sharing response content. In other words, if somebody talks to you, you always want to be responding to them. That's just really best practice for social media. You never want to leave a customer having said something to you and you not reply to them. So do try and make sure you're replying as much as possible to the people on your social media page. You might there's another good thing there is product or brand related content that is about using the products, tips and tricks. So I just mentioned, for example, Canva, which is a graphic design tool. It's free, but there is a paid version. Canva creates loads of content all about how you can use Canva and how you can get the most out of it. Even though, it's not actually saying you should buy the full version of Canva. It's just saying, look, here's how you can use our program to make amazing things. That's really good content. It's content that I can enjoy, even if I don't pay for Canva. It's content that's really useful to me, even if I don't pay for Canva. But it's going to convince me, it's going to convince all the audience that Canva is a great company that cares about its users. And it's going to show me all the amazing things I can do with it. And both of those things are going to make me more likely to purchase in the future as a result of that content. Think about how you can share things that other people are going to want to share. What is it that your users share? what is it that they're likely to retweet or to share or to broadcast to their other followers. You could even use user-generated content as well, which is asking your users if they could do something. Take a photo of yourself in the weirdest place you've ever drunk one of our coffees, for example. Think about Coca-Cola. They created that marketing campaign where they had different names on the side of the bottles. So a Coca-Cola for Mark or Samantha or Jeremy or Crystal. All of that was really useful. That was a really great campaign because people wanted to share. Back when it first launched, I remember going out and when I was working in an office and asking, "Does anyone want a drink?" And if someone said, "Yeah, I'd love it. I'd love a Coke," I would go out and I'd try and find one with their name on. And then there's a chance that they'll take a photo of that and go, "Hey, look what Zoe just did. She got me a Coke with my name on it," and put that on Facebook. And then that's user-generated content. That's marketing for Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola didn't pay my friend to post that on Facebook. She just did it because Coca-Cola had set that up through its user-generated content. So that's really worth thinking about as a way of marketing. When it comes to sharing content online, you make sure you're using the best graphics possible. So Canva is a really great tool. Again, canva.com. Check your grammar. Grammarly is a great tool for that. That's grammar.ly. Again, Samantha, if you could share these in the chat, that would be really great. Grammarly is a great tool for checking your spelling and grammar. It checks it automatically as you go. And then, of course, you can also manage your social media accounts all in the same place. So you can use tools like Hootsuite or Buffer. Or Later is another tool as well. These are all ways of managing your social media platforms, so you can manage them all from one place rather than having to log into multiple accounts or switching between accounts. So you've got the knowledge. We've told you everything that we can tell you about social media. So what can you do now? A few things that you can take away from today. Make sure you're setting yourself really good goals. Make sure they're the right goals for your business. Make sure you're defining your tone of voice and choose the right platforms to focus on as well. Make sure you're being present on the platforms that your audience is present on. So we've got one last break for questions. Doesn't look like we've got anything more by the look of things. Looks like that's all the questions answered. So I'll start closing the session off. So what are your next steps? What can you do now? Oh, I've just seen that we've got one thing from, is it Utukia? Can you repeat the account manager apps? Yes, so that's Hootsuite, Buffer, and Later are three of the biggest ones. Later, just like the word, Later. Buffer is spelt Buffer, and Hootsuite is Hootsuite. They are all good social media account manager apps, Utukia. So hopefully they will work out for you. And yep, I've just spelled them for you. So next steps that you can do, remember we've got the free one-to-one mentoring available from Google. You can find that at g.co/UK mentoring. So make sure, you are signing up for that if you're eligible, which is anybody who works for a small business or a charity in the UK. And that's everything from me. So if you've had a good time today, or if you've had a terrible time today, it would be really helpful for me and for the Digital Garage if you'd fill out our feedback form, which can be found on the link on screen. That's goo.gul/digital garage feedback. Let us know what we did right, what we did wrong, so that we can keep improving these sessions and making them as good as possible for all of you guys. Other than that, the only thing I want to say is thank you. So thank you for all your amazing questions. Thank you for taking part. Thank you for just signing on. We've had loads of people here today. I think we've had, I saw 50 people at one point, which is amazing. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to watch this. I hope it's been helpful. I hope it's been useful. Kaz, thank you. I've just seen that you found it informative and explanatory. That's really great. Thank you for sharing that. Really glad it's been useful. And yeah, remember, we've got loads of other webinars. So if you'd like to learn more, we've got a link to all of our other webinars in the video description. And other than that, I hope you'll have a wonderful day. Hope all of your social media strategies go amazingly. And I'll hopefully see you again on another Digital Garage webinar. So take care, everyone, and bye-bye.